All right, and welcome to Corner Class 18. It is a brand new year. Its election has given us a new president, and the new president is being sworn in today. So it is now. Is it time to really start your career, your real estate career? Can you start your real estate career with no money? I get that question a lot. Can you start your real estate career for real with no money? Well, today we're going to talk just about that. We're going to talk about how to start your real estate career with no money at all, and the 3 steps do you need to start that real estate career. So, if you're interested in learning about real estate, learning about starting your career, and doing it with no money, stay tuned. We'll see you on the other side. And we're back. We're back. I get so often in the field, I get so many questions that, David, can I really start my career with no money? Can I really buy and sell real estate with no money? Well, the answer is yes and no. Technically, it is true that you can start your real estate career with no money at all. That is a true statement. But you need 3 things. We need 3 things that you need to happen for you to do this. You need 1, hustle. You need to be able to be a self-starter, have your mindset correct, and be able to hustle. If you have that 1 key component, then you can go to the next step, which is finding the right deal. And we're going to have our man in the field, Rodney, look at some deals that you can use to start your real estate career. We're going to talk about the characteristics of that property. We're going to talk briefly about some of the necessary paperwork that's associated with it, some of the steps. And then the last part, which is just as important, is you got to have an in buyer. You got to have another person that will be willing to purchase that property once you have that property under contract. So you need to have hustle to get the property. That's 1. You need to have a good property, something that can be used to make you money. That's step 2. And then lastly, you need to have an in buyer, whether that in buyer is other investors or the in buyer is a person that's actually going to be living in the home. We call those C buyers. Will that person have the financing for it? Will that person have will they be purchasing cash? Will they be purchasing it some other way, hard money or some other way? So you got to have those 3 components to have a successful wholesaling career. So let's get started. We're going to start right off with mindset, the hustle. I see these commercials and ads and advertisements on YouTube that says, hey, I started my career in real estate on the 1st of January, and the 20th of January I have 15 deals and 2 of them closed and all those other things. And it's just, guys, I told you I will be honest with you, and I will. That is typically not the case. Usually there's a lot of rejection that goes into finding the right deal. A lot of people are going to say no more than to say yes. So if you have that hustle, if you have the ability to stick to it, to stay in the game, to stay in the fight, keep looking deal after deal, it may take you 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 deals before you find one that is that says yes and are willing to let you purchase the term purchased a home and assigned it home to another uh, person, whether that other person is a investor or an end buyer, a C buyer. So, and then you have the real estate agent to deal with. A lot of times, if the real estate agent is not a uh, investor friendly person, then that's another roadblock. So, looking for the deal is important, but being able to persevere past the rejection is a huge part of your real estate career. There's going to be a lot of no's, guys. There's going to be a lot of people that says no, I'm not interested, or I'm interested in certain terms that is not favorable to you. So much money down, those type of things. So finding a deal, having the right mindset. That's what we're covering in this segment. So is finding a deal important? Absolutely. And let's go to our man in the field, Rodney. He's going to talk about the deal, and then I'm going to circle back around to the hustle. Rodney.
All right. Hey, David. Happy
Our
New
man
Year,
in the
everyone.
field. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm glad to be back out in the field.
You're back. You're back. So, Rodney, you are going to show us all about how a particular investor, someone who's starting a business, how would they evaluate a deal? What community that they are maybe interested in, how to identify a property uh, that is something that is worth investing in. So take it away. Go ahead and show us how to evaluate that wholesale deal.
Okay. All right. So we doing wholesaling, and this it was my favorite. This how I got into real estate through wholesaling. Um, this where I got my start. So I love this. I love how you can do it with literally no money down. It just grind and hustle. So we going to this home. Um, uh, is I was driving for dollars. Use that term. You drive around and you searching for homes that's in distress.
Yeah.
So like this one, you see, it's not is the grass is not high, but there's boards on the window. There's boards on the window. It's limbs everywhere. So this is a good candidate for um, uh, for for you to wholesale. The area is a rental area, is a high rental area. So investors love this type of area because they can flip it up, they can fix it up for cheap, rent it out, and make income continuously month after month, and build equity because um, this area is an up and coming area. So the the home price will go up over time. So that's one of the benefits. So I'm gonna break it down pretty simple how anyone could get started wholesaling. So with this particular house, I drove up seeing that it's board. I did my research to see how much. This is a 2 bedroom, 1 bath house. Um, it's a little around 600 square feet. So this home can go for $100,000 fixed up, and we see that it needs a lot done to it to get there. So what I would do, I I will I searched around, look for the owner, see. You can do that with the property appraisal website. You can go there and put the address in, and once you put the address in on a property search, it'll pull up the owner. So you see the owner, you see who's the owner. You send them maybe a mail, or if you can get in contact with them by finding a phone number for them, you will pretty much get in contact with them. So with this particular home, it goes for $100,000. It doesn't. It need a new roof. I can't get in the inside, so that's the only situation we have now. Y'all know I usually be in the inside, but today we on the outside. So with doing the numbers, if we could get this property under contract by calling the owner for $20,000, we can get it under contract for $20,000. Sell it to a person who is going to flip it, an investor, for $5,000. So we gonna sell that contract that we have for $20,000 and sell that contract to an investor that is gonna do all the work, so you don't have to, for $5,000. So all in, the investor will get that contract all together for get this home for $25,000. And with the repairs, all together, he may be in $50,000. Because we can't get in the inside, I just did a rough estimate with everything, with how the size of this house. It will be all together total, it'll be $50,000. Now he can either rent it out and make money monthly, or sell it. And like I said, this property can go for $100,000, and that's a nice little nest egg that you'll be making once this house is all fixed up and you sell it for $100,000. And it's good to know the market, because right now this market is so hot right now. Like, once it's fixed up and everything, it'll sell like hotcakes. Like I said, knowing the area and the market is important, for you to know. Yeah. So that's pretty much wholesaling in a nutshell.
So Rodney, a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
So with wholesaling, as you're aware, you need no money, but you got to have, and you mentioned it, you got to have that hustle.
Exactly.
How much time do you think that a person should spend, a new investor should spend, knowing their area that they're going to be working in?
If this is something you want to do, and you have that drive, you should at least spend daily, learning about the market, at least 2 hours, an hour to 2 hours a day. Focus on, because you can make a lot of money. Focus on knowing the market, what's out there, and another hour of driving for dollars. Like I said, looking for property. So it don't take a lot of time, but you do have to be focused and determined.
So it is focused and determined, but daily effort, right?
Sorry, I didn't hear you, David.
Focus and determined, but also no worries. Focus and determined, but also working at your craft daily, driving for dollars daily, or many times a week. Is that correct?
Yep. This is something that you want to do every day. If you got a full-time job, do it before work. Do it after work. But this has a potential of making you, a lot of money. So you should take it seriously, and focus, and drive, and do what needs to be done.
Right. So that part is huge. A lot of people just, their biggest hurdle is sticking with it and being focused and having that drive, just like you said. So we found that we've been driving for dollars. We found a home and that we like. And you mentioned that you have to find the true owner of the home. And
Yes.
one way to find the true owner is to go to public record and, you know, uh, see who is the owner of record at the Hillsborough County or whatever county public record that you're in. You're in Hillsborough County, correct?
Yes, I'm in Hillsborough County.
Okay, so you would go to the Hillsborough County property appraiser. They're going to have an owner of record. Now, a lot of times those owner of records are may have someone that's in state or someone that's in the city of Tampa or someone that's outside the city of Tampa or outside of the state. Is there an advantage to
Yes.
having an absentee owner or someone that's outside of the state that's own a home that's in that condition?
Yes. Yes. My first deal, it was an absentee owner. She was in Georgia. And so I love those because they're not here to take care of the property. It may have been left to them in the family. Maybe someone died, and sometimes they won't even know that the property is there, or they forget about it because they're out of state. So that is a big advantage once you see that the owner's mailing address is in another state.
So you reached out with the to an absentee owner, and I agree with you. Absentee owners are typically, you know, easier to deal with because they are out of state. A lot of times, as you mentioned, they're not aware of the condition of the property. In some cases, they may not even know that they have the property. Grandma passed and passed along in the will, and somehow they didn't get notified or something like that. So there are situations where absentee owners are advantageous. Now, you reach out to the absentee owner with a letter basically saying, hey, I'm interested in purchasing your property for a certain dollar amount. Now, that dollar amount, now you mentioned it. Why $20,000? Why is it important to have so much skin in the game so that the other investor, the investor is actually going to be purchasing the property for you? Why is it important for him to have skin in the game?
Okay, so the reason 20,000, you run the numbers and you see what'd be best. Like I can offer 20, maybe it could have went down to 10, but so you want to know what the market, because if I go and contact the owner and say, hey, I give you $5,000 to $10,000 for this home, they may laugh at you, even though they are absentee owner. They don't want to get taken advantage of so seriously that you severely lowball them. So when crunching your numbers, you look for a good fair price that you can offer them, so you won't get laughed at, and that it will benefit them because you are helping them by getting rid of the problem that they don't want anymore. You benefit them, and you benefiting the your investor with a good property that they don't even have to look for. You brought it to them, and they, like I said, with this particular property, they stand to make $50,000 once this thing is all fixed up and fixed up for the market and sold.
So it has to be a win-win-win situation, right? It has to be a win for the owner because the owner is, have a property that has no, is generating no income for them at all. It's just like a property that's just sitting there. So it has to be a win for that owner. It has to be a win for you for the time and effort that you have put in there into finding that particular property. So it has to be a win for you, but then also, just as importantly, it has to be a win for the whoever is going to be rehabbing or developing that property. because they have to make the deal have to make sense for them. So if you don't have it, a lot of times what we have, Rodney, you may know, is that you have a wholesaler that has a deal that is 100,000. Let's say the same deal that you have, that is $100,000 potential sale, and they are they find the deal, they get the deal for let's say the property for, let's say, 20,000, and then they want to make, you know, $15,000-$20,000 on, you know, on the assignment.
Hey, how's it going? All right. I'm just making a video. Yeah. Yeah, that's my car.
So making 10,000-15,000 on the assignment. So so Rodney, speak to the fact that, you know, if you have a property under contract, you got to be able to assign that property to an investor, so that, you know, they can make money. And if it is too much, I see that you have the police out there kind of looking at you. So we don't want you to get into any problems with the cops. But
Yeah. That's what happened when you're in the field.
Yeah,
You know what happened.
all kinds of things happen. And actually, let's talk about that, because that's something that we don't mention that often. You know, in most cases, you are on property that, and you're looking at that property externally. It's important that if you don't have the access to go inside of the property, that you don't go inside of the property. So if you don't have, you know, if you don't have a realtor that's letting you in, or if you don't have the permission from the owners, you shouldn't go inside of that property, correct?
Exactly. You stay on the outside, because you don't want to get in any trouble. You don't want to get a trespass from the property that you eventually want to put under contract. You don't want a bad stigma on you. Luckily, with this time, the police, they was looking for someone else. They just happened to stop here first. Then is other people around. They let them know that I'm not the person they looking for, and they kept going. But
so let's talk about that. Let's talk about some advanced techniques. You know, when you're evaluating a property and you look in a property, you know, it's good to kind of contact the neighbors if they're out there, and to say that, hey, listen, I'm an investor. I'm thinking about looking at purchasing this property, and ask them, do they have any information of the homeowner, or who owns the property, or the condition of the property. Is that correct?
Yes, David, I'm so glad you brought that up, because the neighbors, they love to talk. They will talk to you. You let them know that you potentially want to buy a property that's maybe an eyesore in the neighborhood, and they're going to tell you everything that you need to know, down to family members, who was there before. So talking to the neighbors is a great way to know about the property.
And that is so true, because as you mentioned, that property in many cases is an eyesore to the community, and it will bring down their property value. So it's actually a win for them to let you know everything that you can know, so that you can purchase that property and ultimately fix it up. Correct?
Yep. That is correct. The neighbors, every time I talk to anyone in my early stages of wholesaling, it was always positive. They are willing to give you information that sometimes that you didn't even know that you needed, but they tell you anyway, and it's a great way to, and also let other people know what you're doing. Maybe their home, they're thinking about selling. So that is a great tool to use with talking to the neighbors.
So it's all about win-win-win. In this particular case, when you're talking to the neighbor and you are looking to purchase a home and fix it up and rehab the home, that is a win for that community and a win for that neighbor. Because initially, and a lot of you can use this. This is kind of an advanced technique, guys. But initially, you know, a neighbor may be resistant because you're buying it at under market value. But with you have the intent, you should let the neighbors know that you have the intent to sell that property at above, once it's fixed up at above the market value. And so that is what's going to stick, because when you buy that value is what's going to stick on the home. Because when you buy that property, let's say you buy that property that we're talking about, the subject property, for 20,000, initially their property value is going to take a slight hit for only the amount of time, 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months at the most, at the outside of what you need to do to then fix the house up and then resell the property at above the market value. So if the median value of that home, let's say $80,000, then and you sell it for 100, now you're selling that home for above the market value, and then that will actually increase their property value. So and that's what you guys should think about when you get a lot of rejection, is that when you're doing a service, you really are, and you're taking a home that is an eyesore to that community, fixing it up, and then reselling that home. So now that home may be one of the better homes in that community. And so that actually is helping out the overall value of that community. And most cases, your neighbors would know that. If they don't, you should educate the neighbors. Is that correct, Rodney?
Yes, exactly. Let them know. Let them know the process. Maybe they are renting and they don't know. I don't know how far you want to get into this, David, but also you educate them about the process. Maybe they'll be on the lookout for other properties to bring to you, which is the term bird dog. We call it bird dogging. They may bring other properties that you may be interested, or they may know of some, by you letting them know what you do and the steps that that you'll be doing to improve, the community.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about meat on the bone, because you kind of I want to make sure that it's important that everyone knows that in wholesaling, you don't have to use your money, a lot of your money, or any of your money to acquire the property, but you got to have a person that you're going to sell that or assign that property to, whether that property is an end user or another investor. And if it's to an investor, that investor the deal needs to make sense to that investor. And so that's why, Rodney, you said that, if you get it for 20,000, you want to assign the property for only 5,000. And what would be, let's say you had a wholesaler that thinks that he should assign that property for 15,000. What are the negatives to that?
Okay, so we don't know how the inside of the property look. So if you go that high, maybe the repairs is more than you thought they was going to be. So you starting off high, then you start taking out for the repairs. Now that home that you thought that that the end buyer would be in for 50,000, now they in for maybe 80,000. So there's not enough meat on the bones. So you don't want to be too greedy and try to squeeze out more than what's fair. Like Dave, like you said, David, it got to be a win-win for everyone. The 5,000, that is a good substantial price that you can charge them for finding the deal. And
Right.
and you find a good deal like that, they make 50,000. Guess what? You're one of their favorite persons now. So they're gonna be looking for you to bring other deals to them.
Absolutely. So, and one thing that we talked about, once the house is earlier about access to the property. In most cases, once you have a contract in place on the property, you now have access to that property. And so you can then go in because you now have permission. Most contracts offer you the ability to inspect. And so now you have the right to inspect the property, which means that you can go into the property once it's under contract and have a better idea of the needed repairs for that property. Exactly. So then when you assign that property to an investor, you can take photos and you have a better idea of the cost to repair that property and then the ROI on that particular property. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. And so you don't want to get it, because you did all your research and you say, hey, 20,000 it'll be good. So you put it on the contract. Now you're seeing that there's a bunch of problems that you didn't know that was there. Now it's there. It could be foundation issues that you didn't know. Just a whole heap of other things. Now that you done, so you don't want to go too high with, trying to sell it off to your end buyer. You want to try to find a common ground that is good for you and everyone else. It's good for the owner because they make some quick cash in their pocket, and the end buyer will make some cash that they'll be happy with as well.
Right. So let's dig a little deeper. We have this whole segment is on wholesaling. So let's dig a little deeper. Now, how much time do you think, on average, will a novice investor, someone that's brand new, would need to reasonably expect their first deal? Should they expect their first deal to come in a week, a month, couple of months? What do you think about that? And how long did it take you to get your first deal? Or how long would it take an average investor to get their first deal? Because we don't, you're an A achiever. So we don't want to use you as the litmus test so let's talk about the average person that is starting a career.
Okay, so an average person that you're maybe driving around your neighborhood, because you definitely should get familiar with your neighborhood first, and you're driving for dollars daily. It can happen. It can happen in a week. It can happen in a month. But it will happen. If you determine. It can happen in the next day. With me, once I started, I got my first deal in maybe 2 weeks when I found it. It had a lot of grass, and it wasn't boarded up, but you can tell that it was vacant. So when I seen that it was an out-of-state absentee owner, I contacted her through mail, and she responded, and she actually came down to Florida to sign the contracts and everything. Like I said, with determination, and that was one house out of like maybe 100 houses that I was getting in contact with. I was just determined to find the deal, and I never gave up. Like I said, that was one out of 100. So I cast a wide net, and if you do that as well, you will definitely find a deal.
All right, so 1 out of 100 is, and so that is right around what you should expect, really, to be honest with you guys. Somewhere around there. Now, as you become more seasoned, you can get it maybe 2, 3, 4 out of 100. But you're contacting a lot of people. Mm-hmm. The key is you got to get to that 100 fast. Yeah. You was able to get your deal going because you were able to talk to and contact a lot of people quickly. And so if you have to do you know, if it's 1 out of 100 ratio, let's say that, and you contact, you know, 2, 3, 400 people a month, then eventually you're going to have multiple deals in that month. Is that fair?
Yes. It's about so when I first started, you know, I was just wherever I was. I started in my neighborhood first. Then I that's all I did around, and I drove for dollars. I was in Craigslist at the time. That was a big thing. Looking for properties. I believe that's still a go-to. I'm not sure. I haven't been on Craigslist in a long time, but at that time,
Rodney, your sound just went out.
people go to and they could
There
put
you go.
properties. They could put anything that they want for sale, just in case some people is from out of state and they don't know about Craigslist here in Tampa. So they have properties on there. I contact the owners with that. And, it's just about that wide net that and then eventually you kind of know what areas is what's the hot area at the moment. Like right now, every area is the hot area. But at the time when I start wholesaling, it wasn't the case. It had pockets, and you gotta kind of study what is selling in which area.
And that, let's talk about that. You know, it is a seller's market, and the market is super hot. What that means, though, for investors is that sellers often have an over evaluation of their property. They think the property is worth more than what it's actually worth. And so for investors, having a seller's market is not a good thing. You know, you want to have a buyer's market. You want to have
Yeah.
plenty of property on plenty of opportunities, plenty of properties on the market, and not a whole lot of the sellers are trying to sell their property. So market conditions are important, but if you have enough hustle, you can still find those gems, those diamonds in the rough, because you're looking at one right there, Rodney. Is that one
Exactly.
that you found from just driving for dollars in preparing for this class? So the deals are there,
Yep.
and your margins may be a little, smaller, maybe shrinking a little, because again, the owner may think that their property is worth more than, they're listening to TV, they're listening to, other people say, oh, I got $8 million for my 1 bedroom home. They're listening to those things, and they're thinking that, a property that is in very poor condition may be worth a lot more than what it is actually worth. So I've said it before, guys. You make your money in the buy. You don't make money in the sale. So if you buy a property, let's say we have Rodney's property there. If you buy that property that's only worth $100,000, and somehow the owner, uh, talks to you and gets you to purchase that property for $50,000 instead of 20,000, which is the price that you have in your head.
Uh-huh.
And you're thinking that, okay, well, I can do this, I can assign this real quick. There's still $50,000 in potential equity. And then you go into the property, Rodney, and you have $40,000 worth of, repairs. You're stuck, you
Yep.
know.
Yep. Uh-huh.
You're making no money on that. You're and really, you're not, no investor is going to touch it, right?
Yep. That's correct. That's correct. So that's why you gotta you know you gotta know what's a good acceptable price, that if something bad happens, like I went with the 20,000. If you need to add an extra 10,000, it got like they sell it for 30,000. You can turn around and sell it for 35 or 34 or 33,000 to your end buyer. You sell that contract to him, and he still has, it still has, um, he still will make 40 to 30,000 still. So, you want to go in with a good fair price. And if the worst happens, you got to go over a little bit. You kind of put that in the budget. Now you don't want to go too high. Like if they offering, you say 50,000, you're like, hey, no way that I can get it for 50,000, maybe 35. So you want to give yourself some wiggle room.
Okay, so we have some comment here. So Rodney, and basically the comment is about the area. One thing about the area, Rodney, and I want you to pan the area when you have a chance, is you want to buy the ugliest house in a good area. Is that the technique that you're looking for, or is there some other technique out there?
What was that? It was a truck driving by. I'm in the
No,
field.
no
I
worries.
didn't hear you.
With respect to the area, is it important to have the house to be in a certain area or in a good area? Because there's a saying, buy the ugliest house in a good area. Is that a true saying?
Yes. So you kind of want to know the market and where people are buying. Um, you could get with a realtor friend, wink, wink, me, and I could tell you where, hey, a lot of cash buyers are buying properties in this area or that area. So I could kind of, you get with a realtor friend that kind of dictate, that let you know what areas is moving the most with cash purchases. Um, so that could kind of give you a better determination of what's the best area to try to wholesale it.
And there's some other advantages of getting with a realtor. First, if you're a wholesaler, it's better to be upfront with a realtor and let them know that, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. Because a realtor will treat wholesalers, I shouldn't say treat, but will have certain expectations from wholesalers, uh, and different expectations for investors and different expectations for an end user, an end buyer. So if you have developed a relationship with a realtor, uh, they have access to the property if it's on the market,
Yes.
and so that will give you a chance to get inside of the property. Now we're not pushing anything, but in previous classes we talked about developing your team.
Yep.
And
Yep.
in that class, we said that realtors should be part of your team, because especially realtors that are investor friendly, because one, they know the market, they know, like you said, Rodney, they know who's if that market is have people that are buying cash in there. They may have relationships with cash buyers. They would definitely have, if you need to get into some more advanced techniques like buy and hold, reflip, and those type of things. And
Yep.
then they can help you with the with the with the evaluation of the property. You may think that the property is worth 100,000, but the realtor may do an evaluation and say, no, there was a home just right down the street that sold for 130,000, and I think that now this home is worth 120,000. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yep. We can give you a better estimate of what the property is worth. Also, I want to get into the building your network of teams. I personally, I love to work with wholesalers. If they can't get it for that price of like 20,000, let's say though the person wants to list it now, then you can say, hey, uh, I can't buy it for, let's say they wanted to sell it for 50,000. I can't buy it for 50,000, but I have someone that I partner with that can list it for you. So, that builds, a bond between me and the wholesaler. We both are winning on this. They helping out the owner by getting rid of the property, either by listing it or selling it to them. Um, uh, and so that is important about building your team. So you have many avenues to take instead of just one, or you just lost, hey, they want 50,000, then you just walk away and that's it. So, it's important to, build like you said, build the team.
Right. So go ahead and pan the area real quick so we can see how the area is for that particular
All
property.
right.
So you see it's a nice, and as a realtor, we can't, we can't comment on certain things. We can't say guarantee a neighborhood or anything like that. So this is not, a professional realtor opinion. I am just, this is just an observation that I'm making of the area. By no means, I got to get the disclaimer. By no means am I saying in this area they're giving any characteristics to this area at all. But from just observation of the area, you've seen how the area seemed to be, well kept. You don't see a whole lot of trash. You don't see on the street. You see some pride in ownership because the yards are being cut. And so you have what could potentially be a decent area, and then you have this house. Go ahead and pan back to the house, Rodney.
Okay.
That is the sore thumb, the ugly house in a decent area. That's another criteria of what you're looking for, right, Rodney?
Exactly. You want to go. There's a lot. So driving this particular neighborhood, there's a lot of new construction coming up in this area. So new houses. The area is improving. Then you drive by and you see this. Boarded up. The city. I assume cut the grass. So they do that every now and then. So don't get discouraged if you don't see high grass, because sometimes a neighbor will complain and the city will actually come out and cut the grass. But they will put that on to the property owner to pay that bill
Right.
once it's due. So, you look for, like I said, boards on the windows. Like my deal, like I said, it didn't have boards. I just knew it was vacant. There was no blinds, no curtains. You could see right inside, and tarps on the roof. When you see those, that is a good indication that the home may be in distress.
Right.
And it sticks out.
All right. So Rodney, thank you. You given us a lot of tips as to what to look for when you are evaluating a potential deal. To recap, you're looking for the property to be disheveled. You're looking for a property that is the sore thumb in the neighborhood, in an otherwise decent neighborhood. Uh, those are visual tips. You kind of try to, without trespassing, you can try to peek through the windows or doors or see whatever you can do to get the condition of the property. That's one. Okay, and then after that, you want to reach out and see if you can find the owner of the property, and the owner of the property will and you will try to contact that owner. And we mentioned one source of the to find the owner is the property appraiser's site for whatever county that you're in, Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, Polk County, etc. So one thing that is an advanced technique, Rodney, and you touched on it, is code enforcement. Once you have that property, you want to know how many code violations they have, because if they have years and years of code violations, you know that they may not even be aware that what's the condition of the property. That's another point that you can talk to the owner about, hey, listen, are you aware that you have 5 code violations on there and they're really ready to demo the property in 3 months? Well, I can help you, with that property. So again, it has to be, you want to generate a situation where it's a win, win, win. Everybody is winning in that situation. So code violation is another technique that can be used. I'm going to give you guys a couple of more. Does the property have water service? Does the property have electricity? Those are other keys that you can use to see, hey, listen, what is the true condition of this property? If a property doesn't have electricity and water, you may have, that it's for sure it's abandoned probably, but then also you may have mold issues that you have to consider as part of the evaluation of the home. So there's a lot of advanced techniques that we probably will speak to at another time. We just wanted to kind of get you guys thinking about what are the minimal steps that you need for wholesaling. So Rodney, do you have anything to add before we move to the next segment?
So just take the time out, drive around, just start writing down addresses, just to get your feet wet. You start writing down addresses, or vacant homes that you may think that is vacant, you're not sure, write them down anyway, just to get in the habit of searching, and get familiar with the property appraisal website. Search, see if it's an absentee owner. If it's not an absentee owner, just keep your eye out on that particular property. If you don't see anyone there for a month or two, that property is vacant. Just start good habits. Writing the addresses down, searching them up, because they'll be beneficial to you in the long run with the experience. Another trick I learned was you go to the people who owe taxes. You can go and you can search that up through the property appraisal website. You can see if they owe taxes on this property. So that's a good way of reaching out to them as well. Like, hey, do you know that you got an outstanding tax bill for this particular property?
Right. And a lot of times that, you can get the property for what's owed in tax. You just pay the back taxes and give the owner a little money. So, that can help inform your price, your pricing for to the owner. If you know that in this particular deal, if you know that they owe 40,000 in taxes, and you want to offer them 20,000 for the home, those two don't match up. So
Yep.
and that may be a deal that you don't want to pursue because exactly. Their tax burden is too high. So there's a lot of more advanced techniques. We're probably going to have a touch back on that, maybe a part 2 to wholesaling. Rodney, I want to thank you for identifying that great property and providing us with the various techniques that a beginner can use to evaluate a property and come up with a price. Thank you again, Rodney.
Okay, no problem.
All right, so we're back, and as always, Rodney, our man in the field, he really gave us some really good nuggets to think about. That property would have been, if the numbers held and we was able to purchase it, would have been a great win-win-win for everyone, and it's something to really, really think about. So let's talk about that third component that I mentioned earlier. You have the hustle. 1, you have the property. 2, and then lastly, you have your team or being able to assign that property to an end investor or an end buyer. Now, as we mentioned, if you are under contract for a property and you cannot assign that property to someone that is actually going to ultimately either rehab it or, live in it, you're stuck. You've done your part, but then you're not able to realize on that investment because you could not assign it. So finding an end user or an investor is just as important as finding the property. And that's where a lot of wholesalers fall short. They get into the business, they are hitting the pavement hard, but they don't develop that buyer list. They don't develop the people, the investors that are they're gonna sign the property to. Now remember, you're dealing with you're starting your career and you have no money of your own. That's the premise. And so you have to be able to assign that property to someone so that they will pay you for your time and services. So one, it has to have enough meat on the bone for an investor to be attracted to an investor or end buyer. But then also you got to have someone there. That investor has maybe have a project that's going on their own. They may be in the middle of something and don't have the cash. So you got to have more than one person in mind that you can sell that property to. That is equally as important. So as you are looking for the home, as you are spending time on that property, you should be spending equal amount of time on developing a database, a list of potential people who's going to buy that property for you. And I see so many times where a wholesaler says, hey, this particular field was not, it didn't work for me. And, didn't make any money, or I wasn't able to do that. And usually one of those three components were lacking. When I talked to that particular investor, wholesaler, I asked him, usually my questions are somewhere around one of those three components. Hey, how much time did you spend to learn your market? How much time did you spend on evaluating the property? How much time did you spend on the hustle? Then how many offers did you put out? How many owners did you contact? What was your ratio? Knowing that the ratio needs to be, it's somewhere around 100 to 1. It really is. Maybe 100 to 2 or something like that. But you got to put out a lot of feelers out there, because the first time that it's unlikely that the first offer letter that you send out to an owner, they're going to say, yeah, you know what, that's a good deal. Yeah. Most of the time they may have moved. The address may be old, dated. They just may not want to do anything with the home, or or their price is too high. Like I said, an example that we given, you have $100,000 potential rehab property, and they want 80,000, thinking that I don't know what they're thinking, but just have an overinflated price of the home in their mind. So sometimes it may be an educational thing that you need to do with the owner. Hey, listen, yes, the market is strong, but your property needs $40,000 worth of rehab before it's going to be occupied. It can even occupy it. So those things that's another area where a lot of wholesalers fall short. They don't put out enough flyers. They don't put out enough feelers out there. If they say, well, David, I put out 60, I reached out 60 times to 60 potential owners. Well, you still got 40 more times before, you may even get your first deal. So you got to stay with it. You got to be persistent, just like what Rodney said. And then lastly, you got to develop that database. You got to develop a database on people who will eventually buy or that property and rehab it and fix it up. You got to be able to assign that property to someone. And so those are the main steps the very important steps that are needed to start your real estate career with no money. 3 steps are: 1, hustle; 2, the correct deal; and 3, the end user, someone, investor, the buyer list, someone that is going to sell your deal or to buy your deal, and so that they can ultimately rehab that property and you can make some, and then they can sell it to an end user. So those are the 3 main components of starting your career with no money. It takes a lot of hustle. It takes a lot of time. Rodney said he got his first deal in 2 weeks. That is not typical. I want to say that is not typical, but he was able to reach out to 100 plus potential owners in those 2 weeks. And sure enough, that ratio kicked in 1 to 2 deals per 100. So those are the 3 steps. And we want to give you one more to help you guys out. We want to give you one more tip and to help your career. I'm going to put up here. We want to thank you for coming to Corner Class Tampa. That is how you start your business with no money. It's a brand new year. We have a brand new president. There's a lot of opportunities that are going to be available in this year. And so it is a great time to start your real estate career, and you really can start it with no money. We'll see you at next Corner Class. Have a great and productive day. Stay grinding.